Every economic empire, from ancient Rome to modern Wall Street, was built not by the smartest, but by those who mastered internal control. Consider this an absolute guarantee if you possess the discus. Applying to absorb this blueprint until the final second, you will unlock a level of psychological leverage that turns social chaos into personal wealth. Most people spend their lives as financial and emotional slaves, reacting to every external stimulus like a puppet on a string, completely unaware that they are sabotaging their own potential. By understanding the hidden laws of human behavior, you will immediately separate yourself from the masses, gaining the exact mental clarity required to build an unshakable, wealthy reality. The global elite do not possess superior intelligence. They simply operate with a precise, calculated emotional immunity that you are about to master. Let us analyze a profound biological reality that occurred on the 10th of May, 2008, when neurological researchers mapped the exact duration of human rage. When a trigger occurs, a chemical surge of anger completely flushes through the human nervous system in exactly 90 seconds. Any resentment that lingers after that period is not a biological reaction. It is a conscious hoist to keep feeding a dying fire. Most individuals spend 20 minutes or even 2 days replaying an insult, essentially manufacturing their own suffering and burning valuable cognitive assets. And you master the 90-second rule, you regain total command over your biological state, refusing to waste precious mental energy on insignificant external events. The illusion that other people can control your emotional state is the fundamental lie that keeps the working class trapped in mediocrity. People often claim that an adversary knows exactly how to press their buttons, functioning as if they are helpless remote controls operated by the whims of others. In reality, those buttons only exist because they are connected to unhealed wounds or unexamined personal values from your past. When a critic or a toxic associate attempts to destabilize your focus, they are merely exposing your hidden vulnerabilities. By refusing to react automatically, you strip them of their perceived power and transform an offensive strike into data for your own self-development. True psychological power requires an individual to recognize that anger is never a primary emotion, but rather a defensive shield. Beneath every outburst of rage lies a hidden layer of vulnerability, such as fear, shame, or deep-seated insecurity. When an associate criticizes your strategy and you lash out, your anger is merely a security guard protecting the fear of being inadequate. The moment you bypass the aggressive mask and address the core vulnerability, the entire dynamic shifts in your favor. True masters of strategy do not fight the anger of others. They observe the underlying fear and exploit it to maintain absolute control. Between every external stimulus and your ultimate reaction, there exists a microscopic sliver of time that contains your absolute freedom. This concept was documented thoroughly during the global crisis of 1945, when survivors of extreme adversity maintained internal sovereignty amidst total devastation. Most people allow their impulses to bridge this gap instantly, reacting like a pinball bouncing aimlessly off foreign objects. When you learn to pause within that microsecond, you activate your supreme cognitive advantage, choosing a response that serves your long-term empire. Before firing back an immediate response to a hostile message, ask yourself what action will yield the highest return tomorrow. Imagine the immense advantage of viewing your internal emotional landscape as mere weather patterns, completely separate from your core identity. You are not the storm, you are the sky that contains observing the rising turbulence without becoming consumed by its destructive path. When irritation arises due to an incompetent associate, the untrained mind claims that the associate is an idiot, instantly absorbing the poison. The disciplined mind notes the internal rise of irritation, maintaining an objective distance that preserves executive functioning. This technique grants you complete emotional immunity, allowing you to operate efficiently while competitors drown in their own chaotic feelings. To achieve unmatched strategic dominance, you must reframe every difficult individual not as an obstacle, but as a personal trainer for your psychological resilience. A micromanaging executive or a Aggressive partner is merely a heavy weight designed to build your mental endurance. When they deliver their fifth critical assessment of the day, a victim internalizes the persecution, while a leader views it as high-intensity conditioning. This shift in perspective transforms every toxic environment into a gymnasium for your personal empowerment, where you level up while others collapse. You cease to be a casualty of your environment and instead become a calculated student of human flaw. Protecting your cognitive energy requires a definitive blueprint for personal boundaries, which act as selective gates rather than impenetrable concrete walls. Wealthy minds understand that you cannot generate high-level output if your reservoir is constantly drained by external entitlement. Establish clear, objective parameters regarding what behavior is permissible, communicating your terms with cold, assertive precision. If an associate attempts to dump their chaotic drama onto your desk, state clearly that you will discuss solutions but will not absorb the panic. This preservation of energy ensures you always possess the surplus capital required to fund your own grand objectives. There is a profound strategic difference between an act of cowardice and a calculated retreat executed to preserve vital resources. The timeout protocol dictates that when an environment becomes volatile, the most powerful move is to temporarily remove yourself from the friction. This is not an admission of defeat, but a tactical withdrawal designed to let the chemical surge dissipate and low executive logic to return online. Explicitly state that the conversation is highly important, but it will be resumed when logic can prevail over raw impulse. A 5-minute separation prevents catastrophic relational damage that takes months of expensive diplomacy to repair. Navigating the competitive landscape without a precise map of your emotional landmines is equivalent to walking through a live combat zone blindfolded. Your psychological triggers are never random, are highly predictable patterns rooted in historical rejections and past institutional bépanes. By auditing your daily frustrations, you can pinpoint the exact tones, phrases, or behaviors that threaten to derail your stability. When you anticipate the landmine before stepping on it, the element of surprise is completely neutralized, allowing you to bypass the trap entirely. Self-awareness is the ultimate currency, and understanding your triggers is emotional intelligence converted into hard strategic asset. True leadership demands the execution of compassionate distance, which means caring for the collective objective without carrying the emotional weight of every individual. You can throw a drowning associate a life preserver, but you must never jump into the torrent and drown alongside them. When a colleague vents continuously about their personal misfortunes, establish a strict timeline for supper. Then pivot firmly back to profitable endeavors. Burning out on behalf of someone else's structural inefficiency helps absolutely no one and actively destroys your economic productivity. Keep your strategic, your boundaries absolute, and your personal energy entirely self-contained. Human beings do not experience objective reality. They merely experience the internal narrative they construct about reality. If an executive sends a brief, blunt email, the weak mind constructs a narrative of impending termination, inducing immediate panic. The wealthy mind constructs a narrative of high efficiency and brief communication, resulting in clear focus and rapid execution. By becoming the conscious editor of your internal script, you completely dictate your emotional reality and subsequent financial outcomes. Every upset is born of an interpretation. Change the interpretation and you instantly master the situation. The acquisition of this psychological blueprint is entirely useless unless it is integrated into your daily execution until it becomes fully automatic. Select a single protocol today, whether it is the 90-second rule or the observer technique, and apply it ruthlessly for 7 consecutive days. Small, highly disciplined changes in your daily behavior compound into massive psychological advantage. Guess over the next decade. The individuals who command global industries were not born with superhuman serenity. They simply practiced these exact principles until they became second nature. Your peace of mind is the ultimate foundation of your wealth. Protect it with absolute authority and build your empire.